All right, so when you are ready to start your print plate, you will complete 2 of these. There's this page and then there's this page. You'll make sure that you have an A plus B that is where the A is black and white. The B is black, white, and light gray. I screwed up, so don't pay attention to my dark gray spots. And then your final composition should be black, white, light gray, and dark gray. As you work, it's really important that this final design have a keep it simple, stupid mentality, which is a engineering term. You're going to have to cut everything out that you do. So creating this little spot here instantly created about 2 minutes worth of work for myself. I can't have 20 of those on my paper. Once I get that done, I will then need to go and get one of these sheets of paper that is slightly bigger. After I get that sheet of paper, I will then go ahead and draw my design out on it, which is what I have here. Missing a piece, which is here, okay? And I really recommend that as you cut, you constantly are re-putting back together your puzzle piece. So if I cut this out, I kind of move it aside, and then as I cut this piece out, I move it aside. It's really easy once you do this to not know how to put your puzzle back together, particularly if you have a lot of pieces. For storage, you can get a bag, but then I do recommend getting a piece of cardboard to go inside there so that, again, this can stay flat, and I just slide it completely inside the bag. Once I have all my pieces cut out, which I'm going to show you real quick with your X-Acto blade, in case you are not in 8th grade art, so you take the cap off. We remember we can't lose this cap, so we tuck it underneath our blue mat. You have to have a blue mat in order to use the X-Acto blade. You hold it like a pencil, but rather than it being straight up and down, you really kind of accentuate the angle. Then, keeping this hand out of the way, so you'll notice I do have it at a 45-degree angle. Some of you write at a little steeper angle and that won't work. So you angle it down, and from here it kind of looks like that on my paper. And then you stab, and you need as much pressure as you would put on a pencil. And you notice that I twist my paper rather than twisting the knife. I'm always kind of pulling it towards me from where I'm sitting. And again, this would be no different than what I would the pressure than what I'd put on a pen. I made it all the way around. I did. As soon as I'm done, I put my cap back on. I've had a lot of students that cut themselves by putting their hand on their cap or on their blade. Then once your pieces are all cut out, you'll want to make sure that they are labeled with whether they're supposed to be black, white, light gray, or dark gray. Then you will actually start cutting out the supplies. You will notice that I have a lot of different materials to work with. Anything from a ribbon to felt. What we are trying to pay attention to is the texture that's created, because all of the color will be the same. And then you can think of these materials as far as like, will it be light or dark? It's exactly like water. So the ink, more ink can fit on this than this. And when I try and rub this off, like if I tried to rub off water, I would get a lot of water to come off this, but some would stay, so that's a sign that this would be light gray. But this one would stay wet, like all the water would seep into those crevices, which is a sign this is dark gray. This one is going to have white spaces right in between where no water could attach, but then again, the water is going to sink in pretty hard into the actual twine itself, so it's going to be a strong little crisscross pattern. They'll probably create like a dark gray with high texture. This is going to be pure black, 100% pure black. I recommend using this stuff sparingly and in your corners to pull your eye inward. The different ribbons will do different things, and pay attention to the texture. Sometimes what might be the pretty part of the ribbon is actually the part that we'll put face down. These will not absorb any water, but in the crevices, if you crinkled it all together, would. And then lastly, there are plastics if you want a pure white. You can also cut into the mat board And I'm gonna show you this real quick. To make texture, so you just take your X-Acto blade and you would have your piece or whatever, but if you cut in, the cut itself will create a line, and this board itself will be light gray. But then if you take your knife and peel and pop at it, you will be able to peel off. A lot of times you can get this in one solid chunk. I'm at a weird angle, so I'm not sure it will work for me. But you can peel off your chipboard, or your mat board. There it goes. You can peel it off in one big chunk. You can also draw in texture. Anything you do, the smallest nuance you do, the ink will show up. So if you are wanting to create a little bit of line or a drawn in texture into a tight space, your X-Acto blade will do it. Okay, when you cut out your textures, all you do, separate my workspaces, you take your piece, working from the corner, you lay it out on top, you just use a Sharpie to go all the way around your edges, and then you probably do need to use a pair of scissors for most of our work. As you cut pieces out, I strongly encourage you lay them directly onto your mat board. So I kind of do it in a system like this. I take my puzzle that's all put together, and then when I cut out a piece, so I've cut this out, I then take this and put it in a new location, like kind of remaking, oops, you can't see that, kind of remaking my puzzle, and then I put this onto my mat board. So when I cut out this piece, it goes up here. I'm gonna put white, so I'm putting plastic behind it. Plastic does not need to be cut to size. You can just put that behind the piece, and so you would slowly lay all this stuff down. Now as you do it, you're gonna notice that not all your pieces are exactly the right size, and now there's like a negative space that's created from where they should overlap. So I'm gonna explain gluing. Find my piece that just went missing. This is always the thing. You always end up double cutting out a piece. Okay, so gluing. You gotta get totally rid of the mat. You are going to need a white paper towel. I have these little containers here, and then we're gonna keep them inside a baggie, so just watch that you don't topple the container. Your glue, if there's not one already poured, you just pour the glue on in. And we use a lot of glue, so you kind of, I don't know, a good sized dollop. When it dribbles like that, just use your side piece. Then you're gonna do this. Okay, I wanna move this so you can see it. You're gonna take all your pieces, and then you're gonna hold them, and then you're gonna pull them so that they are still kind of where they're supposed to be. And then working here, you will cover your entire board with lots of glue. Like, notice my thing is like white. You'll cover the entire board, and you do want to stretch it thin, but on the other hand, glue's your friend. So stretch it, stretch it, stretch it. Then you start with whites first. So anything that's gonna turn out white, you plop first. So there's my plastic. And I take time and I squish it. You're gonna get glue all over yourself. Squish it in, squish it in. Once I've done my whites, I go to my light grays. Now I have to put glue back on wherever my light piece was, because if there's overlap, there's gotta be glue everywhere. This whole thing will fall apart. Then plop this guy down. And you'll wiggle it around, and if he sticks out and shouldn't, then once it's all dry, we'll cut it off. But you do just take a lot, I mean, you're gonna get glue seriously all over yourself. You're gonna have to like wash your hands and take a break before you do new sections. Then again, making sure that you put glue, not everywhere, but definitely kind of along your edges so that those pieces will stick. Then these guys go down, and again, they can overlap just a little bit. That's okay. And if they don't overlap, I've got a solution. Getting it all squished down. Now see, I don't have any glue right there, so I gotta go back. Glue's my friend. Glue, glue. This guy would go here, and then let's see how he's pulling up. Glue's my friend. Slather some more in there. And sometimes I'll show you. We're gonna make a sandwich. So then this guy would go down and you'd keep going. Now, sometimes you have negative spaces that are big. That's why I have all this little thing. So if this space right here is a big old gap that you need filled, then look, we're gonna make it look intentional. And you can go around all your lines that have that particular texture with a little ribbon, and it will become a part of your actual thing. Once you are all done, sometimes your pieces will want to curl up. So we will make a sandwich. So you will get some plastic, and I have just actual plain plastic sheeting. You will put it over top to cover up your plate, and then you'll get a couple of books, and you'll put the books on top, making sure that no glue would get in contact with the books, and just slide it into your drawer. And then the next day, hopefully when you take it out, your glue will still be wet, but all of your pieces should kind of have stuck themselves back together and not popped back up again. If you have questions or concerns, let me know. One more thing is, once your plate is all glued down and it's dry, which mine is not, and it gets really finicky. When everything starts sticking to you, you gotta let it dry and just go for it the next time. Once it's all dry, you flip your plate over, and then it is really important that we trim off all of this excess stuff, because your edge will be your edge, and it matters that it looks nice, clean, crisp, professional. And then I have been using these scissors, and I shouldn't have been. Please make sure you're using the black handled scissors, because this will destroy these scissors, and the black handled ones are only a couple of bucks a piece.